Hi guys, Evan here. Welcome to PT33 Game 2. This game gives people a ton of trouble, but from where I sit, as somebody who's done these games a lot, it's a pretty basic in and out game with a lot of conditional rules. And I think what people run into really is they do this game before they're truly ready for it. They don't have a handle on how to link up conditional rules very well, and that you're going to run into major troubles if you don't know how to do your contrapositives and tack conditional rules onto each other. So head back either into the basic ordering lessons on conditional rules. That's a good place to get a grounding, or you can go to the grouping lessons in out games. That'll help you out too. But let's get the basics down here first. It's an in and out game, and we know that because we're reading the prompt here, and we're exploring a forest to see which kinds of birds we see. And the birds are either in the forest, so that's over here, the inside, or they're out. Out is the same as not in the forest. So if they're not seen in the forest, not spotted, they're going to be written over here. If they are in the forest, they're going to be over here. And we only have 6 birds to worry about, which is kind of nice. Sometimes you get a little more pieces to deal with than that. Let me write them out. Okay, so we have grosbeaks, harriers, jays, martins, shrikes, and wrens. 6 birds. And then it's just a handful of conditional rules. So what I like to do in these in and out games that are a big kind of forest of conditional rules where you just have a lot of conditional rules getting thrown at you is I draw a dividing line. And then on top of this dividing line, I'm going to draw like the rule one way, and then I'm going to throw the contrapositive down on the other one. And you'll watch how this helps us get 2 chains. We get 1 chain and then the contrapositive of that chain. So 2 chains total. And this whole 2 chains technique, this is how 2 Chainz got his name, the rapper. It's very important. It's going to really help you out with maybe seeing inferences a little more quickly. So here's our first rule. If harriers are in the forest, then grosbeaks are not. So H, then not G. So we should all know what that means. That means you're never going to see both H and G in over here. Because the contrapositive of that is that if G is in the forest, then we got to kick H out. Next rule, if J's or martins are in, so we can do J or M, and I'm already seeing in advance, this is kind of an advanced skill that I'm doing here, but I'm already seeing that if J or M is in, then H, right? So it links right up to this. There's no reason to draw like the thing off separately. We can just link them straight up here. So if J's or martins are in, then H. So either one of these guys would be sufficient as a trigger for H. If you see J, you see H. If you see M, then you see H as well. How about the contrapositive of that? Again, I don't need to write it out separately. I've already got a not H here, so I'm going to have not H, and then the contrapositive of that is not J and not M. Boom, so our 2 chains are already getting built pretty nicely here. Next one, if wrens are in the forest, then so are grosbeaks, so you can just see where to add that in. And this is usually how it's going to work. You're going to be able to add the rule in original form on one or the other of your 2 chains, and then you just do the contrapositive on the other side. So the contrapositive of this is not G, then not W. So since I already had a not G, I then just write the not W part. Okay, last rule, if J's are not in the forest, we already have that right here, then shrikes are. So J, then not S. Or sorry, J, then S. J's out, then S is going to be in. And to do the contrapositive of that, it's going to be able, I'm going to be able to draw it right up here. It's not S, then J. So I can just draw that right here, not S, then J. And make sure you understand that that's only pointing at this J, not at the M. This is only a trigger for J. Then there's no reason to have this in right here. So now everything is captured in our 2 chains, and this is a good point to realize, okay, do I really understand these chains? These chains are redundant. They're the same exact expression the same exact logical relationships, just written differently. So say I have a trigger in here, H, well, then I can make the following inferences, right? I can infer then if H is in, I can look at that, and that's this trigger right here, then G's out and W's out. Same thing down here. If I see H, then I'm doing the modus tollens inference here, that's triggering this going off, then triggers not G as well, so not G, G out, and not W as well, right here. So if you don't know any of this stuff yet, how to do your basic conditional inferences using triggers, and I'm talking about modus ponens and modus tollens there, you're going to have to go back through the lessons and get a handle on that stuff. Otherwise, this game's just going to be a total disaster. So I just wanted to emphasize that if you make an inference in one chain, you don't have to redo it down in the other chain. They're just to make things a little visually easier on you, so that if you see not H, you can just look at it right away and see, oh, that means not J and not M, and then it also means S. Okay, problem 6 gives us a bunch of different options for things that are not in the forest. So normally for an acceptability question, maybe we're looking at what's on both sides, but here that's not the case. So let me get these all written down. So look at this first one, J and S out. So this is the same as saying, down for the purpose of our rules, not J and not S, right? And when we see a not S, we got to follow this whole chain. Then that triggers J, then H, then not G and not W. So we'd have to have not G and not W over here as well. And we're looking for something that's a complete and accurate list. And this is clearly not going to fly to just have J and S. G and W would have to come in there as well. So you're kicking out A. That's a look at how we're thinking through these ones for 6. So now I'm looking at HG out for this. So H out, we're looking at not H and not G. Well, I'd take a look at not G, and then right there, it brings in not W as well. See, not G, then not W. You could also do that down here, not G, then not W, with your inference working backward. That's your MT inference right there. Same information. Either of them tell you that W has to be out too, and then, you know, B's not working, just like A. Okay, GJM, I can eliminate this mentally right away because not G, then not W. W's not listed in there. It's the same problem. Now this one looks a little better. We got the G and then the W. That's fine. And then S and G and W, like we saw the problem with A, that's not going on down here. So maybe this is going to work. So G, M, S, W, and then here J and H would be in. So everything seems to check out here. We might be a little simpler to just quickly look at E and realize that E is not going to work. S out, that brings G and W out as well. And we run into much the same sort of problem that we ran into with A. Just S being out isn't going to fly. Anytime you do a problem, you have a choice whether to affirm that an answer is correct or eliminate one. Here, I think it would be a little faster to just jump in and eliminate E, see the problem with it right away. Anyways, D is the correct answer. Okay, on to 7. We got both martens and harriers in the forest. So, marten, harrier, right in here. That's going to count as like an M and H down here for the rules that we're looking at. So, I see M right here. That brings H in, kicks G out, kicks W out, here and here. And we still don't know what's going on with J and S. So I'm just going to look and see if I've solved the problem already before worrying about J and S. And I'm looking at these, and this is really why this is a difficult question, but you can just hack through these. Shrikes are the only other birds in the forest. That's this. Shrike's only one in. Why don't we put J in? That doesn't change anything along these chains. Why don't we put S in as well? S in isn't a trigger for anything, so it's totally okay for S to be in. So then I do that work, and I've crossed out A, and then I can quickly cross out B, which is the same thing, just J in. However, the next one, C, the forest contains neither J's nor shrikes. That's not going to work, because if I kick S out, then J goes in immediately. S out, that's going to kick J in. So I'm crossing C out for that reason. And then I see there's at least 2 other kinds of birds in the forest. No, it looks like we can move this J over right here, or we can move the S over. So there only has to be either J or S in here. You know, you could have J or S. So I've eliminated everything. I'm left with E. You could save a little time if you just saw E right away. There's at most 2 other birds in the forest. Yeah, that's true. W or G are getting kicked out here no matter what, just because of the fact that we have H in. Okay, J's are not in the forest, so we'll kick J out. So that triggers right here. Then we know S is in. And that's really all we know at this point, right? So it's asking what must be false now. And I'm looking for something related to shrikes because that's the only thing we could know. So I just scanned down through the answer choices. There's only 2 talking about shrikes, and it's D and E. Neither martins nor shrikes are in the forest. Yeah, that must be false. Martins out and shrikes out. That has to be false. If J's out, it kicks S right in, per this rule right down here. So don't get scared that you were only able to make one simple inference. Just see then, okay, that must be what answers the question. You scan through, and sure enough, it does. Okay, it's trying to figure out here what the maximum number of 6 kinds of birds the forest can contain. And we've seen a scenario where we had 4 out already. That was this martins, harriers, kicking G and W out, and then you got J's and shrikes in. Is there any way to get anybody else in this forest? No way. You know, you simply can't do it, and you can know that because, and to know that, it's a little bit tricky, but look at this G, for example. G is going to have to be out no matter what, because when G goes in, it kicks 3 things out, right? So no way we want G in. To try and make the most possible on the inside, we're definitely adding G to the out group. And the same thing goes for W. You know, W's in, it kicks 3 things out. So you gotta try it right here. This is the only way possible to get just 2 out, and that's the maximum we can do. So to solve those kind of questions, you look for the guys who are the least friendly, who are gonna kick the most out, and then you add them to the outside. It's a little bit of tricky, it takes some practice, but you get used to it. Okay, here we're looking for a pair that cannot be in the forest. So we're looking at, can J and W be in, for example? That's our first one. And it's pretty easy to do that. If J's in, does it kick W out? Yes, it does, right? So those are a pair that can never be in the forest. Pretty easy. If it wasn't A, we just keep doing that same analysis, looking at what these 2 triggers do down on our chains. Okay, so now for 11, we got grosbeaks in the forest. So we kick G in. That sets off a whole big chain of stuff happening. We got H out, then J out, M out, and S in. Now there's only one thing left here, and that's W. And it looks here like we could put W on either side. So what must be true in this situation? It looks like they're giving us another one that's pretty easy here. S in is our first choice, and yeah, that has to be true. That's just a nice easy chain that you drew to that being true. Okay, last one, they're adding a condition here. So as if this game wasn't already pretty time consuming, we got a new rule at the end. And that new rule is that if shrikes are in the forest, then harriers are not. So I've already added that down here. Shrikes in, then harriers not. And we'll just do the contrapositive out here. Harriers in, then not shrikes. So at this point I'm feeling a bit battle weary, and I just want to jump in and try these as quickly as I can. J, then S. Can the forest contain... We're looking for something that could be true here. Can we have J and S? Well, the issue with that is J in, right here, is going to put H in as well. But now we got a new rule that if S is in, that kicks H out. So that's a contradiction, and we can see right away that A is gone. How about wrens and shrikes? So shrikes come in, that sends H out. we look at our other triggers. It's going to bring G in, H out, J and M out as well. And then everything's placed. So does this break any rules? No, it looks totally fine. We followed all our chains and didn't get any rule telling us that some place had to be on both sides, which is a contradiction. So B works fine, and we're good. Okay, that wraps up a really hard game. If you had a tricky time with that, just make sure your inferences are quick. How quickly you can see triggers and then make the inferences from it is going to affect how quickly you do this game. You should be able to get the information, not S, right? Not S. And then from either of these chains, make a bunch of inferences with that. You would know this is true, this is true, this is true, this is true, and this is true from not S. And then you would also know that working backwards, all this stuff is not true. So get good at making those quick inferences and try this technique where we had one chain for the original rule and then we keep the contrapositive on the other side. What you do there is when you get a new rule, you just add it to whichever side's easiest and then add the contrapositive over on the other side. Okay, that's the game. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye.